Welcome back to Trista's Reading Room. Today we are looking at Road to Bethlehem by Lesley Barklay. This was published in 2021. Dear God, Hannah prayed, I wish I knew what it was like on that first Christmas morning. When Hannah goes to bed on Christmas Eve, the last thing she expects is to wake up in a dusty shed with her brother and a chicken. With no time to search for their parents, Joseph and Mary take the children with them on the road from Nazareth to Bethlehem. Will they reach the town in time? And how will Hannah and Joshua ever get home? A delightful story about the first Christmas. This is the first book in the Bible Adventure series, and there are 4 books available. These are for ages 7 to 11, and you can find ebook and paperback on all online vendors. Lesley says, Hi, I'm Lesley, a Jesus-loving mum of 2 from Australia. My husband Tim and I live in rural New South Wales with our 11-year-old son and 8-year-old daughter. We work as high school teachers at the small Christian school our children attend. Tim teaches English, drama, and art. I teach German and history. Since I was a teenager, I have been a night writer, but I got more serious about it over the past few years. I became a Christian during my first year of university. Since that time, I've enjoyed being involved in my church, in children's ministry, and women's ministry. When I was 5 years old, I received a personalized Christmas book from my Nana. This story had my name in it, and those of my 3 brothers. We took a journey with one of Santa's elves to collect letters revealing the true meaning of Christmas. I still have the book, and my children love reading a story about their mummy and their uncles. Seeing their delight, I decided to try my hand at writing a personalized book for them in Christmas 2018. I naively intended to write a picture book for my 5-year-old daughter and my 7-year-old son. It soon blossomed into a chapter book. While I adore the book my Nana had given me, there was no characterization. The Lesley in the book was nothing like me in real life. I didn't want my story to be formulaic. I wanted fictional Joshua and Hannah to act the way my kids would, which meant the book needed to be longer. After a miraculous answer to prayer sent the children back in time, Hannah spends most of the whole first chapter freaking out because she missed her mummy. I read through the events depicted in the Bible, researched the terrain, and spent weeks on the story, meeting with a friend to discuss the plot and characterizations. It's rather humbling to have someone tell you that your children won't act in certain ways. I was still working on the last chapter on Christmas Eve. A friend printed it out, and I wrapped it up and gave it to the kids for Christmas. Every year since then, I've written a new book in the series and given it to my children for Christmas. In each story, I address issues of faith my children have struggled with as they grow. I commissioned a talented Christian friend, Mandy Mitchell, to provide art for all the books in the series. The main characters are 5 and 7. Joshua is an academically gifted, neurodiverse character who has Asperger's syndrome and sensory processing disorder. I'm also creating an educational resource book to go with the story. It's suitable for homeschool or Christian school students in Year 3, ages 8 to 9, and Year 4, ages 9 to 10. You can find Lesley on Facebook and Instagram. Let's go ahead and read a few chapters. Prologue. Hannah could barely close her eyes. She felt so excited. Tomorrow would be Christmas Day. Mama? She asked as her mom tucked her into bed. What do you think it was like back then? What do you mean, darling? Mom asked. Back when baby Jesus was born. What do you think it was like? I don't know. Mom's forehead crinkled a little bit, like it did when she was thinking hard. I suppose it was very uncomfortable for Mary, and probably very dirty. I wouldn't like to have a baby in a stable. Why didn't God send Jesus to be born in a palace? Hannah wondered. Surely the God who made the whole universe could have sent Mary to a palace. I don't know, honey. That's a question you'll have to ask him. But now it's time for you to go to sleep, Mom said firmly. And when I wake up, it will be Christmas. That's right. Sweet dreams. I love you. I love you too, Mama. Hannah gave her mum one final hug and kiss. Then she curled up on her pillow, cuddling Pinky, her favorite bear. Dear God, Hannah prayed, I wish I knew what it was like on that first Christmas morning. Her thoughts grew heavy, and her eyes slowly closed. As she faded off into sleep, a small smile touched her lips. Chapter 1. Back in Time. Do not be afraid, Mary. You have found favor with God. You will conceive and give birth to a son, and you are to call him Jesus. Luke 1:30b through 31. The first thing Hannah noticed was the strange smell. Had Mummy left the window open? Was there a sheep in the front yard? Then she heard the noises. Cock-a-doodle-doo! A rooster? She stirred sleepily. We don't have a rooster anymore. When she rolled over, her hand touched something strange, something scratchy. What? Her eyes opened. She froze as she took in the small, dark room. Where am I? Mummy? She called. Mummy? Hannah? Hannah sat up and looked around to find Joshua sitting on the far side of the room, panic in his eyes. She ran to her brother, flinging her arms around his neck. Where are we? She whimpered. Where's Mummy? I don't know. Joshua sounded scared too. A shuffling noise made them cling to each other more tightly. Then a brown chicken jumped out of the shadows. Ah! Hannah shrieked. She clutched Joshua tightly. Everything was silent for a moment as the chicken regarded the intruders and then gave, almost, a little shrug and started pecking at the straw. Josh laughed. After a second, Hannah joined in. It was a little funny, being scared by a chicken. A low voice singing made them both jump to their feet. Mummy? They called as they ran out of the small door and straight into a young woman. They flung their arms around her, clinging frantically. Mummy, we didn't know where you were, Hannah said. We thought we were lost, Josh said. It took a moment to realize that the woman was not hugging them back. Another second, and they realized that she had a baby in her tummy. Hannah and Josh looked up, and suddenly saw that she was not their mother at all. She was short, like Mummy, and had brown hair, but the similarities ended there. The woman had dark skin, dark eyes, and dark hair covered by a brown veil. And she looked young, like a high school student. Children? She said with a strange accent. I'm sorry, but I'm not your mother. Hannah and Josh took a step back. Hannah's eyes blurred as tears started to fall. Josh squeezed her hands so tightly it hurt, and made the face he always made when he was trying not to cry. He opened his eyes really wide and pinched his lips together. Oh, children, do not cry. It will be all right. We will find your mother. Are you hungry? Have you eaten? Why don't you come with me and I will get you some food? Hannah looked at Josh and he looked at her. Mommy and Daddy always said that they should never go with strangers, but they were lost and scared, and this woman seemed kind. Mummy did say that if they were ever lost, they should find a policeman or a shopkeeper or another mummy to help. Surely having a baby in your tummy counted. I'm hungry, Josh said slowly. Me too, Hannah said. The young woman seemed to take this as consent, because she put down the bucket of grain for the chickens and waved for the children to follow her. Arriving at her house, they found it was like nothing they had ever seen before. It was small and dark. The roof was very low. The floor was made out of dirt. Come, children, sit, she said, pointing to a low wooden table with cushions on the ground around it. Still holding hands, Hannah and Joshua sat obediently. The woman put a strange-looking bread roll in front of them and broke it in two with her hands. I have a little olive oil, if you would like. Hannah bit her lip, trying not to cry. This bread didn't look like the bread that Mummy bought, and Mummy used olive oil in cooking, not for eating. No, thank you, Joshua said. Hannah shook her head. Joshua looked at the bread for a moment. Do you have any peanut butter? Or white bread? Hannah added. The young woman shook her head. I don't know what peanut butter is, and I've never seen white bread. That's okay, Hannah said, and bravely took a bite of the grainy bread. The texture scratched her throat. She coughed when she swallowed. Here, let me get you some water. The woman went to a clay jug and poured water into 2 brown mugs. Hannah's fingers caught on the rough edges as she traced the rim. It looked homemade. The woman sat down across from them. Now, tell me why you were in my shed. Are you here for the census? Where are your parents? Where are you from? Your clothing is so strange. Hannah blinked at all the questions, her mind fixed on the one word she didn't understand. Census? What's a census? A shadow crossed the young woman's face. The Emperor, Caesar Augustus, has called a census. Everyone must travel to their family's birthplace to register and pay the tax. I imagine that is why your parents brought you here. They didn't talk to you about it? Joshua looked like he was thinking hard, so Hannah decided to ask the question that had been on her mind since they met the young woman. What's your name? Oh, how rude of me, the woman replied. My name is Mary. What are your names? I'm Hannah, and this is Joshua. What beautiful names, like Hannah and Joshua in the scriptures. Yes, Hannah said excitedly. Joshua is like Joshua who led Israel when the walls of Jericho came tumbling down. And I'm Hannah like... Here she stumbled. What was the story again? Mummy had told her, but it was so long ago that she didn't remember. Like the Hannah who prayed for a child? Mary asked. Yes, that's right. And you're like Mary, the mother of baby Jesus. Joshua stared at Mary's swollen stomach. Mary's hands dropped to cradle her bump. Her mouth fell open. What? What did you say? In her excitement, Hannah didn't notice her new friend's dismay. You know, in the Bible, the angel told Mary she was going to have a baby boy who would be the Son of God and save the world from their sins. Mary's face paled as she stood. How could you know that? Joshua looked curiously around the room, then back at Mary's face, then around the room again. Hannah? He said quietly. What, Josh? I think this might be the Mary, Joshua said. What do you mean? I think we're in Nazareth. I think the baby in Mary's tummy is Jesus, Joshua said. Hannah's eyes went huge. Seriously? Are you the Mary in the Bible? Did you see an angel? Mary hesitated, watching the children like they might be ghosts. I don't know this Bible you speak of, she said finally. But yes, I did see the angel Gabriel. He told me not to be frightened, that I had been chosen by God to bear his son. When I told my family and my betrothed, no one believed me. Joseph nearly divorced me. Until he had that dream from God, Joshua interrupted. Yes, Mary said. Even though he married me to preserve my reputation, the other women still laugh at me when I go to the well. How is it possible that you know all this? She stared at their clothing once again. Hannah squirmed self-consciously in her pink princess nightie. At least Joshua's shark pajamas had long sleeves. Are you angels too? Mary asked. No, Joshua said. Hannah stood up and did a little pirouette, almost falling over. But I would make a good angel. Mary laughed. I'm sure you would, little one. Or a ballerina, she added. But that made Mary look confused again, so Hannah sat down, feeling the tears return. For a moment she had almost forgotten that she missed Mummy. Mary sat beside Hannah and placed an arm around her shoulder. If you are not angels, And you are not here for the census. Then why are you here? I don't know, said Josh, but I think we have traveled here from the future. I asked God what the first Christmas would be like, and then we woke up here, Hannah explained. Maybe he answered my prayer. Of course, said Joshua. Time machines aren't real, so a miracle is the only explanation that makes sense. But how will we get home to Mummy? Hannah asked. We can't stay here, and she'll be so worried about us. I know, Mary said. I shall take you to the town gates to see the elders. They will know what to do. Wait, said Josh. If God brought us here, then no one else can really help us except God. Maybe we should pray that he will send us home. Good idea, Josh. Hannah agreed. Hannah reached out for Josh's hand, then closed her eyes. Dear God, Joshua said in a sweet, clear voice, please take us home to our Mummy and Daddy now. They'll be worried about us, and we are a little bit scared. Amen. Hannah cracked her eyes open. Nothing had changed. She added her voice to her brother's prayers. Dear God, she said, I've changed my mind. I don't really want to see the first Christmas anymore. I just want to go home. Can you please send us back? Amen. She waited a beat before opening her eyes. Her lower lip trembled when she saw they had not moved. That's all right. Mary patted Hannah's arm. If, as you say, God has brought you here, then he will send you home when he is ready, and not before. You can stay with Joseph and me. We will look after you for as long as God keeps you here. A sense of peace descended on Hannah's heart. Mary was right. God must want them here for a reason. She still missed Mummy and Daddy, of course, but she was safe. Now that she thought about it, it was rather exciting. She might get to see the very first Christmas. Okay, Hannah said. Thank you, Josh added. We can only act as God leads us, Mary said. And for some reason I feel that he has led you to me. Now, who wants to help me feed the chickens? Me! They both said excitedly. We have 3 chickens at home, Hannah added. Brownie, Book, and Cranky. Brownie's the brown one. You named your chickens? Mary said. Yes, of course. Don't your chickens have names? Mary gave them a confused look. No, they don't. The children helped Mary with chores all day long. They fed the chickens, cleaned, and watched Mary prepare the meal. The food looked strange, but they did not complain about what she put in front of them. Hannah wrinkled her nose. The food here was different, but she preferred to eat than go hungry. When the light had faded into evening, Joseph returned home. He was a burly man, not as tall as Daddy. In fact, he was only a little taller than Mummy. He had brown hair and a big, bushy beard like Daddy's, and his face, covered in sweat and sawdust, was kind. His eyes widened when he saw the children. Hello, Mary. We have visitors? Yes, Joseph. It appears that God has sent us another gift, Mary said. Joseph's eyes widened. More? He blurted. Mary laughed. We can't keep them, husband, but I promise that we will look after them for as long as they are with us. Hannah held her breath, waiting to hear his response. Her hand crept out to clutch Joshua's. Joseph raised a hand to cover his eyes. When he lowered it, his face was wreathed in a bright smile. Of course we will look after them. They can travel with us to Bethlehem. Bethlehem? Hannah said. When do we leave? Josh asked. We must leave in the morning. I have planned the journey so we will have plenty of time to find an inn before the day of the census. Hannah and Joshua exchanged a skeptical look, but said nothing. Bedtime came when the sun sank low below the horizon. It surprised Joshua and Hannah that the house got so dark. Hannah felt frightened as she snuggled next to her brother on the mat on the floor. I wish I had Pinky, she whispered. She spoke quietly, but Joseph and Mary heard. They were lying on the other side of Hannah. "What is a Pinky?" Mary asked softly. "She's my bear. She used to be Mummy's. Hugging Pinky makes me feel close to Mummy, even when she's not here." Mary didn't say anything, but Hannah felt a rustling at her back. And then Mary's warmth disappeared. "Where are you going, Mary?" Joseph asked sleepily from the far end of the bed. "Just a moment," Mary called back. The door opened and the cool night air wafted into the house. Hannah and Joshua shivered under their blanket. A moment later, Mary crawled back into the bed and handed something soft and a little damp to Hannah. Hannah's arms instinctively closed around it and cuddled it close. As she breathed in the scent of home, a few small tears gathered in her eyes. "Pinky! You found her!" "I saw it earlier in the shed, but I didn't know what it was. Then I forgot about it. I only just remembered it." "Thank you, Mary," Hannah said. "Sleep well, little one," Mary replied, snuggling back under the covers. And that's it for today. I am going to be taking a break next Monday because it is Christmas, and we'll be back on the first Monday in January. Thanks for joining me, and I hope you all have a very Merry Christmas.